And we're recording.
Hey everyone, this is Carey here in Dallas, Texas, and I've got a very special guest that I want you to meet today. Her name is Miss Angela Orr. She's out of Waterboro, Maine, right outside of Portland. And Angela and I have known each other for about 10 years. We met at a seminar, and we were looking to better our lives. And we've been in touch over the years and worked together over the years. And I'm really pleased and excited to have her here on the show today. So I want to welcome you, Angela Orr. How are you today?
I'm great, Keith. Thank you so much for having me on. And it was really, it's been very wonderful to have met like-minded people and have kept in touch over all these years. That's the great thing about events, is you make lifelong friends.
Yeah, and you know, it's been nice because we've kept in touch with each other off and on, and you know, we haven't always been consistent with that, but lately we have been, and we're working together on a project that we'll talk a little bit about today. But before I go any further, I want to just say to the people that are watching this, that Angela is a pharmacist for 41 years now. She's been in the pharmacy industry. And you've been a pharmacist for an actual pharmacist for how many years?
37.
37 years. Okay. And that's like one of those little kids that's when you ask them how old they are, and they go 4.5. No, you're 4? No, 4.5.
Half.
3/4. You know, because every one of those years adds up, doesn't it?
They do.
It really makes a difference. And you've been a pharmacy owner for how many years?
15. I did 2 pharmacies, one for 10 years and one for 5.
Okay. So tell me, we're going to go back into your history a little bit. What is it that got you to consider pharmacy as a field to go into in the very first place?
When I was in high school, I knew that I wanted to be in the medical field. For whatever reason, the medical field just really drew me. And I had a mentor and a counselor, and I loved her. And her husband was a pharmacist. And I met him, and I really liked him, and he actually let me go to the hospital where he worked and shadowed him for a day. And I knew right then that, because I had considered being a nurse, I considered being a physician, and through pros and cons of each of those professions that I saw at the time, I thought pharmacist was a perfect fit for me. And when I was a senior in high school, I actually applied right to the pharmacy program. So I knew right from being a senior in high school that I wanted to be a pharmacist.
So were you a good student in high school, or were you a troublemaker?
I did really well in my classes, and I did well academically, but
okay.
I could be on the fringe a little bit.
That's cool. See, I did just the opposite.
That was back in the 70s, remember?
I get it, man. You and I aren't too far apart, but I remember when I was in junior high and high school, I saw all these kids acting all cool and everything in between classes. So I thought that that's the way we were supposed to act. And I took that into the classroom with me, and I got in a lot of trouble because of that. But what I didn't see is that these kids were going home, they were doing their homework, and they were actually listening to the teachers in class. I kind of carried that load with me everywhere I went.
No, I was like them.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about school. I mean, what was that like for you? Were you nervous? Were you excited about getting involved with the pharmacy industry? I mean, did you have high hopes? What were the thoughts that were going through your head at the time?
Well, I think that I've always wanted to help people and to make a difference in people's lives. And I think that's what drew me to the medical field. And as I said, because of that mentor that I had, is where I really zeroed in on pharmacy. When I was in high school, I've had a hard past. We all have stories, right? I grew up very poor. I lived in the project. My parents had no money. And, that was challenges in and of itself. But my high school guidance counselor refused to help me to apply to pharmacy school because he said I wouldn't make it. And
really?
Yes. And I actually had to transfer counselors because he refused to help me. So the head of the guidance counselor became, whole office became my counselor. And I think that kind of fueled my fire because I was like, I'm going to show you, buddy.
Yeah.
And, so I was determined when I went into college. I was nervous about going to college, but I was determined to really do something and to not have to be in a situation like I was growing up when I had my family of not having options because you couldn't afford anything. And so, and I was the first one of my entire family, including extended family, that graduated from college. And I
Wow.
didn't realize it at the time, but that really helped others to see that they could also. And now I have five siblings, one's deceased, but the four siblings were all college graduates. Many of my cousins are, some of my aunts and uncles went back, but so it was really, quite a ride. And during college, I actually had to take off some time for during my junior year, as my brother, who I said passed away, was very ill, and I had to help and do things. And even during all that one semester, I probably got more D's than B's and C's, but I did it, and I made it. And I think it was that determination that I was going to make it because somebody told me I couldn't.
Yeah. So where do you think you got that from? Your mom or your dad?
I think both.
Okay.
I think both,
They're kind of fighters and scrappers, and
Yep.
they have that same,
Yep.
I'm gonna do it because you tell me I can't.
Absolutely.
Attitude.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I
So
think
you're the oldest sibling?
I'm the next to the oldest.
Next to the oldest. Okay.
My
But
sister
you said, go ahead.
my sister had graduated a year before I did, and she had gotten married right when she got out of high school. She ended up going back to college later in life, and she actually is a nurse. I have two sisters who are nurses, a brother who's a physical therapist. His wife is a physical therapist, two nieces who are nurses. My other brother is an educator. He's got his master's and teaches.
Okay. So let me ask you this: where did you get this desire and this inclination to help people? I mean, was there an incident or a moment in your life that you reached out to somebody and it felt good? I mean, can you remember any moments like that, or was it just something that you think was kind of ingrained or inbred in you?
I think it was something that was innately in me. Again, like I said, we all have our stories, and I had a troubling childhood, and we went through a lot. And I think during that time, there were people who helped me and had reached out to me and helped me get through that part. And then there were other people who made me not feel so good about myself. And I think that I remember those people who helped me and, got me to the next level. And that's what helped me to excel.
Sounds like you have a little fan.
Yes, I do have a little puppy here.
Okay. I think he wants some of the spotlight.
I think he does. Just a minute. So we were, I was saying how I had really was compelled to help people because of, I believe, some of the support and help that I had throughout my life.
Okay. And so how long did it take to get through pharmacy school?
It was a 5-year program that I made 6.
Okay.
So I graduated college in 1985.
Gotcha. And did you have a job waiting for you before you got out, or did you have to go
Yes.
hunting different jobs?
No, I had a job. I had worked at, as you had said, I started in pharmacy when I was actually a junior in high school at a local hospital. And when I graduated, they did not have any pharmacist position, but I worked at Rhode Island Hospital as a pharmacist. When I got out, I had a job there several months before I graduated.
Okay. So what was it that had you, once you got involved in your pharmacy field, and you were knee deep in it, and you knew that this was your chosen field, this is where you're going to spend the rest of your life working, at what point did you say, I need to own my own pharmacy? I mean, how long into your career was it at that point?
It was many years into my career because it wasn't. So I graduated college in 1985, and I
Hmm.
opened up my own pharmacy in 2007.
Okay.
So I'd
Okay.
been in the field a long time, and I actually was very blessed and had a very varied career.
Hmm.
I've done everything from working in hospital to working in independent pharmacies to working at chains. I did home health and home infusion for a while. I worked for an insurance company in Manhattan and helped to run their pharmacy program. But and I never really wanted to own my own pharmacy because I thought, oh, that's just something that, I really enjoy working for these other places. And then when I had moved to Maine in 2002, a couple years after, I started working 1 day a week for an independent, about not quite an hour from me.
Hmm.
And I thought, as I really enjoyed the clientele, because I always did that in retail. I enjoyed working with people. Got to know people well. I felt like I really made a difference. And I thought, if he can do this and it's a small pharmacy in a small town, I can do that in my small town too, I think. And we only had one pharmacy at the time in
Huh.
the area, and there wasn't another pharmacy around for 18 miles.
Wow.
And that's when I got the inkling and I started researching, doing the footwork, and it evolved from there.
So back in the day, way back in the day, um, when the dinosaurs roamed,
Yeah.
and I'm older than you, so I get to say that. But back in the day, what would it typically cost to open a pharmacy? What was the average price to open a decent sized independent pharmacy?
So there are different models that have evolved over the years. Way back in the day, most pharmacy owners purchased the building that they were in. So they
Okay.
also had, an interest in the building and real estate. And then to buy the inventory and have the equipment, I would not even know, but I would say under $20,000 probably, because back then, way back in the day, there weren't as many medications. Some of them were not as expensive. You didn't need all these computers and you didn't have all these laws that governed HIPAA and, transmission of information, that you have to have certain things nowadays. Um, and then what evolved is that you had pharmacies starting to open that didn't want to buy a building necessarily. So they
Mm-hmm.
actually went into like, doctors buildings, or that type of thing, and some other kind of strip malls maybe. And at that point, probably, I'd say $50,000, because um, the drugs, you had to have more because now you have more medications out, and then you had a little bit more equipment. And that leads to today, where I don't know of many independent pharmacies that open and buy a building. Most
Mm-hmm.
independent pharmacies that I've seen, again, go into more the medical office building kind of thing, or more a more professional setting. Not that owning your own building obviously isn't, but that type of setting, some associated with other practitioners right around there. But in today's world, you have to start off with at least 100, minimum to $150,000 in inventory, and that's just to start off. And then you also have to make sure that you have enough capital or money for the operations, because it do and back then also, you would buy a drug, you would sell it, and you'd get paid from the patient for it, right? Do you remember going into a drugstore when you were younger,
Mm-hmm.
and your mom or dad would just, or you would even just pay for your prescription? Well, it's not
Yeah.
quite like that today. You go in and you've got an insurance card, and the pharmacy bills the insurance, and you pay part of the copay, or you pay part of it, or depending on your plan, but
Mm.
let's just say a copay. So the pharmacy is then waiting on the insurance company to pay the rest, and that can take up to 30 days. So now you're floating inventory for them, basically. And not only
Mm.
the inventory, but then you have also the cost of all of the equipment, which I said, even in a small pharmacy, you need 2 to 4 computers, a register. Everything has to be compliant with the laws. You have to make sure that everything, what we call is HIPAA compliant, which means, there's no, you have to minimize risk and mitigate the risk of any kind of personal information being exposed to anybody. So even your phone lines, your faxes, everything has to have special things, and you have to have a pharmacy software system. I mean, I remember in pharmacy, and this is dating myself, I know people are going to laugh, but we typed labels on the typewriter.
That's right.
And it was like the first pharmacy I worked in had a soda fountain and then a high-end gift shop out front, and so things have changed a lot. So due to, all of the more complex world that we live in, and then as you grow in business, you actually have to have more inventory, because you don't want to keep telling somebody, oh, I'll have it tomorrow. Oh, I'll have it tomorrow. People aren't going to come back to you. So you have to have things in stock. And if you sell it, you have to get it again, but then you don't get paid for 30 days. So when
that comes out of your pocket.
That comes out of your pocket. You have to build up enough, or you have to have some kind of operating money to be able to, you have to have some kind of credit or money, to operate on.
Wow. So, so like you said, things have changed dramatically over the years. I know that there's pharmacies like in Tom Thumb out here in Dallas. I'm sure they're in a lot of the grocery stores. I don't know if they have that where you are.
Yep.
I don't mean Tom Thumb, but I mean, do they have pharmacies in the
Oh, yeah.
grocery stores?
Absolutely.
And are those independent pharmacies, or are those considered like part of the chain?
Most of them are owned by the chain itself.
Okay.
Very few of them are. Some small regional grocery stores may have an independent pharmacy or independent owner come in and put in the pharmacies and the chains. But I would say the majority of them are owned by the store itself, or by the chain if it's a small, like up here in Maine, we have Hannaford, and they own the pharmacies.
Well, I don't even know how somebody independent could compete today, with your Costco's, because I know there's a pharmacy in Costco, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, you got your Walgreens and your Rite Aids, and you probably know a slew of other CVS, which is all over the world. And I mean, that's like trying to compete with Amazon in a sense, right?
Is very, very difficult. And again, then you have these companies like PillPack, which was bought by Amazon, to package up your meds, and so it's basically like mail order. So a lot of people also have to go mail order. And just to give you an example, back in the 80s, mid to late 80s, there were about 42,000 independent pharmacies in the US. There are currently less than 21,000.
Wow. So it's decreased by half.
By half.
And what's the forecast on that?
What
do you foresee happening, and why? I mean, give me kind of your overview as to what you see the future of independent pharmacies is. Do you think they're going to be wiped out altogether at some point, kind of like pay phones and DVDs?
I'm ready.
Okay, so the picture that you're painting is kind of grim, and for independent pharmacists, that is. So in your estimation, what do you see for somebody who's been in as long as you've been in? You've seen a lot of changes occur over the years. What do you see happening to independent pharmacies? I mean, is it going to be like the payphone and Betamax? I mean, is it going to go bye-bye one day?
I don't even know what Betamax is, and I don't even know what Betamax is, but yep. So I don't believe that independent pharmacy will go away, but it will not look like we have thought of it traditionally. In the past, pharmacists have graduated from college, gone on to the majority. So there's many pharmacy type of positions. It's just that the majority of the pharmacy graduates in the past have gone to work for retail. And retail pharmacy is what we think of, or most people think of when you think of a pharmacist. But there are many, many, many other avenues. Hospital pharmacists, um,
Mm.
pharmacists that work for insurance companies like I did, pharmacists that actually work for insurance companies to monitor the utilization or to, do all kinds of different things. So I think those positions are still going to be there, as well as they're expanding that. Like there's a lot of ambulatory care centers now where they actually have the pharmacist track, say, the Coumadin levels for a patient and decide on the dose, which, not to be too technical, but that's kind of like using their expertise. And those kind of positions are growing a little bit. The problem is that those type of positions are not as abundant as independent or retail pharmacy.
Okay.
Retail pharmacy, as independents merge into, as independents, um, it's just harder and harder to stay in business because of all the regulations, because of all the insurance issues, because of the lack of reimbursement. So you're having fewer independents, and those that are purchased by, say you have an independent in town and a chain. Well, the chain will buy the independent, then they won't necessarily hire the staff because they can absorb it within what they already have. And now, as pharmacy also gets more and more commoditized, and it's not necessarily a service that people are paying for, it's more of just the commodity of prescriptions, and that's been ratcheted down and down and down by the insurance companies. You're just seeing even more chains close their store.
Huh.
So, and we've seen, like, Walgreens just announced 300 stores are closing. CVS has reduced the number of stores that they're opening, and some of their stores are actually converting more because CVS merged with Aetna, an insurance company. So what they're doing is opening up health centers, so almost like little doctor's offices, and getting rid of kind of like the pharmacy, because
Hmm.
or they're only having like one pharmacy in an area instead of 3 or 4 pharmacies, in a 20-mile radius or 10-mile radius. They'll just have like 1 or 2.
So let me ask you this: and who's the winner in this game these days? I mean, if you were graduating pharmacy school right now, first of all, you have to have an additional degree, don't you? At this point.
Entry level right now for pharmacists is a doctorate of pharmacy. So you're a PharmD. So you have a doctorate degree when you graduate.
Okay. And what's the average cost? And we'll get back to the question I just asked you, but what's the average cost of somebody going through pharmacy school right now?
Many people come out with over 200 to 250 up to $350,000 in debt, because you have 4 years of undergrad, then you have 4 years of pharmacy school.
Mm.
So you have 8 years, and you come out with, it can be up to 350, but it's definitely over 200, 250, depending on the school that you go to. I mean, the pharmacy school up here in Maine, they're $47,000 a year to go.
Wow. So unless you come from wealth, you're taking student loans and you're coming out of school in debt.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not even if you own your own pharmacy. That's if you work for somebody else for the rest of your career.
Correct.
Correct?
If you can get a job.
So again, I go back to the question, who wins this game these days? Where like, if let's say you were talking to your younger self right now, what would your suggestion and what would your recommendation be for you, the younger you? What would you say?
So for a younger me, what I would say is, I don't want to discourage anybody from their dreams or steal them, but I would look very, very hard before I would commit to going into pharmacy. The future does not look great for pharmacists. There's an expectation of about 20,000 additional jobs in the next 10 years for pharmacists. And these are numbers, and that I'm not making up. You can, if you Google it, you can find it online. So 20,000 jobs, and that includes maybe these new jobs in these ambulatory care settings or at doctors' offices and, in hospitals, retail and stuff. However, there are 15,000 new pharmacy students graduating every year.
Mm.
So that's 150,000 new pharmacists and 20,000 new jobs in the next 10 years. That makes no sense to me.
So you talking? I mean, if my numbers are correct, you're saying 1.5 million people will graduate over the next 10 years from pharmacy school, and there will only be a total of 20,000 jobs available?
No, 150,000 will graduate.
150,000 over the next 10 years.
Over the next 10 years. There's
Okay,
15,000 a year times 10 years. But that's
gotcha.
still 150,000 graduates and 20,000 new jobs. And you can, like I said, you can find these statistics. So the first thing I would say is, if it were the younger me talking to the older me, or the older me talking to the younger me, and was in this day and age, because it was different when I graduated, there was quite a shortage. And that's what happened, is there was a white paper put out by Congress about the significant shortage of pharmacists in the coming years and with the aging population. And then all of a sudden, when I graduated college, there were 72 accredited colleges of pharmacy, and now there's 190, I believe. So Tennessee, for instance, has, Tennessee's not that big of a state, not that populous. They have 7 colleges of pharmacy. 7.
So what?
So
help me out here.
I would just say, so just to finish my thought. So what I would say is to truly look to see if that's what you want to do, to go into being a pharmacist. The second thing is, if you do want to go into pharmacy, you have to go into a specialty. So that is, you would need to do some residencies or fellowships, or have a plan about how you can utilize your pharmacy skills, like say to be a concierge pharmacist, or to do these kind of things, because you're going to have to have some kind of plan, to just say, oh, I'm going to graduate and be a retail pharmacist and make $100,000 a year and pay my student loans. That just is not the way it is anymore.
So what's the bill of goods that people are buying? And basically, when they enter pharmacy school, is it that they're just not doing their research? Is it that because mommy and daddy want them to be pharmacists? I mean, what do you see is happening that's continuing to drive people into that field, when you're telling me that those jobs are not available but for a fraction of the people that are going to be graduating over the next 10 years? And so if anybody does their homework and really does some research, they're going to see that that's going to be a really, really tough area to go into, except if you start to, like go into those specialty areas like you had suggested. And even then, I'm sure that the competition is going to be crazy. Am I right?
You are correct 100%. I think that what has happened is that these changes and these types of things that are happening have been predicted in the past, but it's only been in the last couple of years that it is really starting to come to fruition. And I think that and I don't want to say it's like a one prone approach, but I think the schools, when they've started these pharmacy schools, they put a lot of money and resources into it. So they want to continue to have pharmacy students. So it's not that they don't, I think that, maybe if they were a little more transparent, or if, again, taking responsibility of if a student, I think in the past it's been thought of, pharmacy has always been thought of as a, very well-paid profession. And it is a lot of mind work, but it's not as much physical hard work. It's not like it's a job that, was very difficult. I mean, it certainly has a lot of pressures.
Okay. So let's shift gears. Let's talk about, you've gone through this path, this journey, and you've ended up selling your pharmacies, correct?
Yes, I did 2 years ago.
And you are at this point working at one of those pharmacies or both of those pharmacies?
The pharmacy, so one of the pharmacies I sold several years ago, and then the most recent one was 2 years ago. And the organization that I worked with to integrate, I'm working for them because I wanted to ensure that there was a smooth transition for my customers and for the organization that purchased me. And I just wanted to make sure that that's after 10 years at one place, that's a big transition to make for a lot of people. So I work for them currently, as I have ensured that proper transition.
And so let's talk about that transition. Let's talk about some of the things that have happened for you over the last few years. Now, you and I have discussed some of your health issues and the fact that you've looked for other ways of earning an income while you were transitioning out of the pharmacy field, correct?
Correct.
Tell me a little bit about how that transition happened and what occurred for you to want to transition out of the pharmacy industry. And it's not, let's just be really clear here. It's not that you don't love what you're doing, but
Right.
things have changed so dramatically
Right.
for you. It's not like when you first got started, you were in love with what you were doing, and slowly but surely different things started layering on that changed your perception or changed the way you showed up to work and changed the feeling that you had in your gut or changed the way that people interacted with you. And a lot happens. I'm sure there's a lot of moving pieces and a lot of variables to what brought you to this decision. But tell me what occurred for you that said, okay, I've got to make a plan B happen. I've got to find something that can secure my future. Because right now, what's happening for me, it's not secured my future the way that I thought it might. Is it fair to say that?
You're exactly right. So back in 2012, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And over the next couple of years, as I was treated and recovered, so first and foremost, I had to be out of work. And as a small business owner, when I own the pharmacy, it's not like you can get work. You can't really get insurance. I guess you could, but I didn't really have the insurance to be able to cover myself so it really took a hit on my pharmacy because not only was I out and losing my income, but I had to hire a full-time pharmacist to cover me. It was a double whammy. And it was one that, again, as a small business and any small business owners out there know that it's a double, it's something I think my pharmacy really never recovered from.
Mm.
And you also go into a business thinking that I'm going to be able to build my business. And not that I don't want to work, because I love to work. I love to be with people. I'm a hard worker. But you think that you can create a business and grow it and get it to a point where, you can hire somebody to help you take some of the burden off and you can have a little bit more free time. But that's just not how it worked out. I felt like I was a slave to the business. And
Mm.
I felt like I created a job for myself and I had to be there all the time. And then as the business model of pharmacy changed over the years from outside sources, or pressures from, decreasing reimbursement, increased audits, increased take back of money from the insurance companies, increased regulations, which meant you had to either buy more stuff or hire people to help with this or outsource certain things. It just was, just the credit card fees alone and line fees in my business was $20,000 a year just to
Mm.
pay to process credit cards and to pay for the transmission of claims to the insurance company. I had to pay them 5 cents a claim. Crazy, right?
Wow. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And that'll
so
kick you in the butt a little bit, right?
and then you had thing after thing after thing, and then new regulations would come out, and you'd have to be compliant with them. So you'd have to make sure. But anyway, so when all that happened, and I got sick, I just, I realized that if something were to happen to me and I couldn't work,
Mm-hmm.
or the road in front of my pharmacy was closed and nobody could get to me, and I was in a medical office building, but I just thought, what would I do? So I thought I have to have another option, an option B, as you will, or just I have to have another option,
Mm-hmm.
be able to have income, have a secure financial future for myself and my family. So I started looking at other things. And what can I do? I looked at different programs for the pharmacy that were more of a cash and carry kind of thing.
Hmm.
And those are good, but they're somewhat limited. You're also limited to like a 10-mile radius because people aren't going to come 100 miles to buy a $25, $50, $100 item to carry it out,
Well, let me jump in here real quick. I mean, so okay, so you've got this. What you're saying is a 10-mile radius, but is it actually 10 miles? Because I would venture to guess, and I don't know what your area is like, but here in Dallas or in Los Angeles, where we used to live, there was a pharmacy like every mile or two, at the
Well,
very most, every two.
I'm in a remote area, Keith.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, 18 miles. There wasn't another pharmacy, remember, for 18 miles.
Now that was before, but what about today? I mean, what's that like in your area
There's no
now?
pharmacy around except for 18 miles.
Okay, so it's still then now, but if you live in a big city like we do,
Even if you
and
lived in Portland, right, it's not even 10 miles.
wow, wow.
Yep.
Okay, so continue, please. Sorry to interrupt you. So you're saying that basically you were stuck to a 10-mile radius in what you
You,
could do,
you are.
10 to 18 miles. Yeah.
You try all different things. And then not only are you limited to the geographic area, some insurance plans only pay for prescriptions at certain locations. So we weren't a preferred pharmacy. There were some network, there were some
I've
networks
dealt with that recently. I know what you're talking about.
so
Okay.
some networks came out and totally excluded independent pharmacies
Hmm.
a couple of years ago. We fought it, as an organization nationally, and we did get back in some of them. But
Yeah.
you're also so here. So it's not like the
But
consumer.
you're not a recommended pharmacy. When somebody calls their insurance company, they're not going to put you on that list. You have to actually go into the pharmacy and ask and say, look, I'm at such and such a pharmacy, and I want to get my prescription drugs here.
Yep.
Will you cover me here? Will they cover somebody if they actually do that? Take that use that process?
No.
They won't.
No.
Wow.
So we're 18 miles away from other pharmacies, and there are some plans even still that won't cover even where I am currently. They will only cover at other certain pharmacies, and I don't want to get into the specifics. That's not what we're here about.
Yeah, but that sounds almost mob-like in my
Yeah,
opinion.
the patient has to go, like so far, or you have a different copay. If you come to us, it's $25, but if you go to that other pharmacy, it's 10. So it's not even like a business to consumer model because you can't control, and even the patients who like you and want to come to you
Mhm.
can't necessarily control if they can or not because it's dictated, by
Right,
insurance company.
right,
And
right,
that's what
right,
my husband always says is, it doesn't make any sense because, the insurance companies for your car can't tell you where to take your car
right.
if you get in an accident. They can't be obligated to say, well, you can only go to X, Y, and Z, but they can do that with medicine.
And they do that. They do that with my health plan as well. They give me a
Yep.
list of doctors that I can go to, and
Yep.
anything outside of that network, I'm not going to be covered.
Same thing for pharmacy.
Wow.
So
Okay. So I
so
see
then
what's happening here for you. Then I get the picture of what's brought you to this point.
so
So
there's so many outside variables that you can have the best customer service. You can be the best pharmacy in the world. And again, I'm not using it as an excuse because there's certainly other things that we did. I mean, we were out there for 10 years. That's a long time for a small business. And then 5 years in the other pharmacy. So that's a long time for a small business to be there. But that's where, and then after being sick, I thought I only have this one life to live. And, you get to a point where it's like, I don't want to have to fight all the time for things. I don't want to have to fight for the business. I don't want to have to fight for the reimbursement. I am so good at helping people with their, medications and with their health and everything. And, just really being there for people. And it's like, I don't have to fight to be able to make a paycheck,
right.
to go. Some of my staff pharmacists were making more than I was because of how many hours I had to work and how many so it got to the point where it was like just I have to find something different.
So let's
And
so let's talk about you know we don't have to go into the exact transition that happened for you, because we understand like this. There's a lot of information here as to why somebody in their right mind would say, "I've got to look for a plan B." I don't think that that you could have said it any better in the last half hour that we've been talking or more. So, what are some of the things you looked at, and why didn't you end up working with those particular companies? And then let's talk about where you're focused today and what you see as the future, not only for yourself, but for other pharmacists and other graduates and other people that may be considering pharmacy school. Let's talk about what you've come to. Okay. First of all, you've looked at health and wellness products. Yeah.
Yes.
You've looked at some digital products, I'm sure, at some point.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You've looked at ways of doing things online, and
Absolutely.
so you've had your hands in this mix of things, and you've reached out and you've tried different things. So it's like I said, you and I have known each other for 10 years,
Yeah.
and you're constantly learning. You're constantly reaching out and looking at different options and possibilities to make your life to really live the dream that you had when you first got involved with the business, or when you were at a very young age and you dreamed about what your life would be like one day when you grew up. I'm sure it wasn't where you ended up at the end of your pharmacy career, which is why you're making a transition right now. So tell us what's happened for you just recently and what you see the future is.
So, as you said very well, that I absolutely love being a pharmacist. I absolutely love what I have done in my career. I feel very blessed by the transition that I had, where I feel like my customers are very well taken care of by the company that I joined forces with, and I've been very fortunate to be part of all of that. So I have nothing negative to say about all of that. And I just feel very, very blessed, and I'm just so grateful, because as I made that transition, it was very important to me that I knew that people would be taken care of, and they are. With that being said, I had to look at also what I wanted to do. And I've been in pharmacy, as we've said, next year will be 42 years. And I just want to do something a little different. So I've looked at different options. Plus, it's not to say that my job or my business or my company is going to go anywhere, because they're not. But what if? What if?
Yeah.
And you don't have control of that. There was a smaller chain of grocery stores in the Midwest that announced in 2 weeks we're closing all of our pharmacies. And, there were hundreds of people out of jobs. People had to go to other places to get their prescription. And that was just in the last few months, So, and then like we discussed with how I had been sick in the past, and just thought I need to have something that I can count on besides a job or the business at the time. So what happened is I met somebody who shared some really life-changing products with me. And during this transition, and like you said, I've worked with different health and wellness companies online, and because I feel like that's the way that the future is going. I mean, if you look at the statistics, 40 retailers are closing all or part of their chains. Look at the Sears of the world, look at the JC, these iconic businesses, because it's all going online. And another interesting statistic, I haven't looked it up recently, but I've looked in the past, and you think, oh my gosh, there's so much business going on online. It can really still grow. And it was like only 8 or 12% of all commerce is online still. So to me, what that says is that there's still a huge potential. It's not like e-commerce is at 50% or 60 or 70, 80. It's under 10%. Or even under 15%. I don't know exactly.
I think it's under 10.
It's under. I thought it was 8% when I saw. So I thought, okay, if I could do something that's more online and is that young in its infancy, and you have that much potential growth, because more and more. I mean, I heard something the other day from one of the chain stores about their pharmacy, and, oh, do you not want to go into the store and pick up your prescription? Do you not want to wait in line? Well, we can deliver it out to your car, have it sent right to your home the next day, and it's like, so more and more. So I getting back, I diverge or so getting back to
Digress.
digress. Thank you. My thesaurus was off for a minute. So I had met somebody, and there were some life-changing products that I had tried, and I just thought, oh my God! And she told me all about what it can do for you, and I was like, wow! And it's in an area that again is exploding. It's coming onto the into the world, and it's as a really explosive growth, and it's going to really revolutionize, or I believe it's going to really revolutionize the way we think of medicine, health, and pharmaceuticals. It's so I started looking at these products. I started looking at the business model, and it's the type of thing where basically I can share information with people and then work with a partner or a company that will do everything else for me. So to me, it's like a distribution channel. Instead of me getting the medication or me getting the product and then me selling it to you, I can tell you about it. I can give you some information about it. I can give you some, have some of it delivered to you so you can try it. And then you can just order it online and have it come right to your home. And
So
then
let's go ahead.
the company will track all of that, and they'll track, if it's purchased from my site, and I get a commission from that, which
Mm-hmm.
it helps the company grow. They don't have to pay, $10 million for a 2-minute ad on the Super Bowl. They'd rather pay word of mouth because, again, it's an education. And I feel like, again, that's why pharmacists is a really pharmacists and pharmacy, or even medical people, or any, a lot of different areas. But I really foresee how we can play an important role in really helping to change people's lives.
Well, let's talk more in depth about that. Let's talk about the product that you chose, the company that you chose, and let's move forward with that. Let's tell the audience and the people that are watching here what exactly it is that you're doing and why you're doing it. So, give us kind of the broad view of what's happening.
So as I was looking at different companies to partner with, it was really important to me as a pharmacist and the reputation that I have a large circle of influence and people trust and like me, that I work with a company that has really not only great products, but great results and is very ethical. And, I looked at other health and wellness, like, with shakes or with, different things, vitamins or supplements. And, there are so many of them out, and each of them seem to have their own niche. And I like them, but I'm shaked out. So I didn't want to do any more shakes. I didn't want to do any of that. As you said, I had looked at different electronic products. I had looked at different informational products, even the currencies that are out there. It just looked at a whole plethora of things.
Mm-hmm.
Then I was introduced to a company that has ultra premium CBD products.
Okay.
And it really enticed me because medical marijuana has been legal in Maine for many years. And my husband and I have discussed it, and it's something that I always thought, and as I did research into it to find out what it does and why it's such a hot topic of interest, which is a whole nother webinar that we'll do, that I just thought, this is something I really want to learn more about.
Now, wait a minute. Stop the presses. So you're selling marijuana?
Absolutely not.
Doobie-doobie-doo.
No. That was back in high school. No.
No. So
A lot of people.
What is it that you're doing exactly? You said medical marijuana.
So medical marijuana became popular, and I was very interested, and I started doing research. What I found out was that it's not as simple as it seems. So there's medical marijuana, which is the marijuana that's been outlawed. It has a high level of what is called THC, which is the component that is the psychotropic that, makes you woo. But then there's another plant called a hemp plant that has CBD in it.
Okay.
And the difference between a hemp plant and a marijuana plant, they're cousins, but the biggest difference is that the hemp plant has a much, much lower percentage of THC, like 0.3% or under. Marijuana can have up to 10%, but now with all the crossbreeding, they can go up to 20%.
Mm.
A lot of people don't like the effects of the THC or feel uncomfortable. Plus, it actually induces a lot of anxiousness in a lot of people. So that was not something I wanted to get into. But the CBD, especially depending on how it was processed or how it was made, could be used for the anxiousness and the anxiety and depression, so many more things. So the company that I chose to work with, when we process our CBD, we actually have a patent technology where not only is it made in a way that's easily absorbed by the body because it's an oil, but it also processes out all THC. So our products are guaranteed 0% THC, which to me
Okay.
as a pharmacist is important because even though it may be legal in a lot of states, federally, and I am a pharmacist, but federally THC is still illegal.
Now, so you have certification verifying that, or have you done?
Yes, the company has certificate of analysis. So on each batch of product, we
Okay.
and I have some good friends who are pharmacists and own their own compounding pharmacy. So they're very well used to reading certificates of analysis just to verify like the authenticity and accuracy. And he said he had never seen a certificate of analysis as clean and as detailed as ours was. So
And
that
what
just means that a third party, an independent lab that we pay to send our product, has tested it and has tested it for not only what's in there, but what's not in there. So they test it to make sure that it, because where we process our product is in a plant that adheres to good manufacturing standards. And in order to do that, you have to meet a lot of quality guidelines. And one of the guidelines is you have to be consistent batch to batch. And the only way to do that is to send it out to an independent contractor, have it researched, make sure that not only is there the correct percentage of CBD in there, but there's also no mold, mildew, pesticides, and that also there's no THC. So ours is verified for that. So it's not like the CBD that you get on the gas station.
Right. Okay. So, like obviously CBD is all the rage right now.
Yeah.
And, you're seeing CBD in cosmetics and skin, skincare and hair care. And as a matter of fact, I saw Coca-Cola last night is looking to start a beverage with CBD. And, everybody and their grandmother seems to be jumping on this bandwagon. So my understanding is CBD about 18 months ago, just the industry of CBD has gone from about, was it 250 million? And 18 months later, today, it's gone to 5.1 billion in revenue.
Yes, it has.
What's that?
Yes, it has.
And it's predicted by Forbes and many other, people of high status and people that are in the know. It's predicted that it may go as high as 20 to 22 billion or somewhere around in there, 20 over the next couple of years. Is that correct?
Yes, by 2024.
Help me out with the numbers if I'm off.
By 2024. By 2024, it could be 24 billion.
24 billion. Okay. So and that's just the predictions. That's, and again, it seems as though everywhere we look, I'm seeing CBD this and CBD that, so you would think that it's an area that's very cluttered already, but what's differentiating you from the pack is give me 3 or 4 things that set you apart. Number one is you have clinicals, you have the certificate of analysis,
Mm-hmm.
where it's grown. Tell me a little bit about where it's grown.
So it's grown in Colorado. So
Okay.
see, the hemp plant grows very fast and it absorbs everything in the soil. So ours is grown organically. And just saying that doesn't mean much, because if you have an organic patch and you grow it organically, but there's pesticides already in the soil from previously being farmed, then that will. So where ours is grown, and again, ours is tested for this, no pesticides, no heavy metals, organic. There's a 25-mile buffer around the place where we grow, so that no other, there less chance of cross-pollination,
Right.
other things. And we also have our processing plant right on site. We have 150,000 square foot newer facility that, like I said, meets GMP, which is good manufacturing practices. It's more, to me, it's pharmaceutical grade. It's just a very, very clean product.
Yeah, if there was a pharmaceutical grade a CBD, that would be it.
That would be, yeah.
Because there's really not a pharmaceutical grade CBD, is there?
There is one CBD, so that's kind of a.
Is that the one that the FDA has approved?
Yeah,
for,
that's a little bit of a stretch saying that there's no, because there is.
Okay.
Biggest difference is that isolate. So that means, CBD or hemp oil is a natural botanical product. Hemp oil has many compounds in there. There's many different CBD cannabinoids in there. There's terpenes. There's other things in there. If you extract one particular one, then you don't have a full spectrum. Ours is full spectrum. But what that pharmaceutical company did is they extracted one particular one because it's used for seizures that do not respond to other medicines in children. So
Right.
a very specific use, but it also is $36,000 a year for treatment for somebody. So that's what happens when, CBD is made into a drug. $36,000 a year.
Oh, interesting. And so your average product runs how much?
$100 a month.
And I would have to say that, with all these other companies that are springing up right now, how many other companies in your guesstimate, I mean, I don't know if you know the stats on this or not, but how many other companies have what your company is offering?
The quality that we have?
Yeah.
None.
Okay.
That I know of. None that I know of. And one of the reasons why I say that is we actually had a clinical study done where it showed the absorption. So as I've said, quality matters. It matters in everything, but it really matters in CBD. So hemp oil is an oil. Oil and water don't mix. Your body is mostly water. So if you leave it in that rough oil form, you can take it, but it's not going to be absorbed. Some of the other products that are out there on the market, if you taste them, they taste like motor oil. They're so thick. You put it in water and it just floats on the top.
Somebody was just, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I was telling somebody about, our interactions just recently, and we were talking about sleep. And he was saying that he and his girlfriend really have a hard time sleeping. And I was mentioning the company that you're working with, and lost my train of thought.
Has he tried other ones and it hasn't worked, or he tried the oil and it tasted bad?
Yeah, he said that's what it was. That's what it was. Yeah, we'll cut this part out. He basically said that it tasted terrible. He said,
right.
We've tried that and it helped, but I'm assuming that it's of a lower grade. Number one, that the absorption isn't what the absorption rate is with your product.
Yep.
And he said it tasted terrible. Now, tell me about the taste of your product.
Well, the taste of our oil is a strong spearmint. It's really wonderful. I like it. But the other thing that's important about ours is we have a nanotechnology. And the nanotechnology means basically you take the molecules and you break them down really small, so that if you were to put a drop or two of the oil in water, it would completely dissipate and you wouldn't see it. What's important about that is that that's how well it will be absorbed into the body. So that's what that clinical study was showing, is that our absorption was not only better, but then the rate of how much is in your system clinically was so much superior with our product compared to others. So I would say that would be another reason why our company is better. And I think the other reason that I feel like our company is better than so many others is the emphasis that we have. We have a professional healthcare advisory council. So it's a healthcare professional advisory council where we have doctors and a vet, because we have some pet products, and myself as a pharmacist.
Yeah.
On that panel, and that will expand and grow in time. We're just really coming out of the gate, as a company, and so that's the other thing is, we're it's a great time to join forces with us. But with that healthcare, I don't know of any other company that has a healthcare professional advisory council, and I really foresee that that's because we're really focused on the customers and the effect, and that our product really does do what it says it's going to do. Well, we can't claim that it does anything.
Yeah.
And I don't make that claim. I've just seen what it can do for people, but I think that the ownership of the company is really focused on products that make a difference.
Well, I think that the product is going to speak for itself as well. I don't think that you're going to have to make any claims, because when people start to live better, feel better, and look better,
right,
and they're using the product, that they're going to know exactly what's causing that.
And I think the biggest reason why I looked at this company also, Keith, is the transparency, I believe, and the integrity of the leadership of the company and the ownership, and how they have been in the field themselves, how they've been out there as reps, and how they have made a compensation plan that handsomely rewards us for our efforts. So I feel like I'm an information broker. That's what I do, is I share information, and people can make their decision as to what they want to do. But so it's like, you get, just like, think, how many people have you referred to a particular favorite restaurant of yours? Many times. And have you ever gotten paid for that?
Nope.
Even if you were to get a nice meal on the house, but most of the time you don't get that.
Oh, I'm lucky these days. Customer service is so terrible these days. Not like when we grew up, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
not the
they'll
same.
look at you like, they're doing you a favor by you coming into their store a lot of times.
By you giving them money, exactly.
Yeah.
So, that's what we do here. Rather than paying an ad agency, as I said earlier, thousands and millions of dollars, millions of dollars, these big companies spend on, on their ads and everything. So instead of doing that, they pay me as an information broker to create a new distribution chain to expose people to these products. And I think the other thing is, some products you don't want on a shelf in a store because there's nobody there who can explain it, and that's the other thing I love about this model. And that's why I love being a pharmacist in this position, or other healthcare professionals, is, we can take time to talk to people, or put out information that is specific to the products that a 19-year-old clerk at the store isn't going to know.
Well, here's one of the things that I'm impressed with you, and again, when you were telling me about your story growing up, one thing that there was a question I wanted to ask you, and it was, did you always know you were smart? I mean, do you think stupid people know they're stupid? Right? But smart people probably really kind of recognize when they're smart. Did you always know that you were smart?
I knew that I knew that I had some talents, and I knew that I have some gifts, and I was really always good at math. Like, usually my average was 105 because you had extra work, and stuff. So it was always 105, 110. But then my parents were so disappointed when I didn't get into the spelling bee contest. I can't spell. but I can math. So math and sciences, those are my
So how many years have you been carrying that one with you?
a long time.
Yeah, we tend to hang on to things like that, don't we? But you do at least recognize, and I can reframe this question by saying you do recognize that the things that you've accomplished over your career take a smart person and a hard worker to do that, correct?
Yes.
I mean, graduating pharmacy school is probably, tell me some of the courses you had to take. And I'm actually, going backwards a little bit here, but there's a couple of things I wanted to ask you so we can catch up to speed again, because I want the point that I'm trying to make here is that you're a smart woman and you have foresight and you've experienced business firsthand. You grew 2 businesses from scratch.
Yep.
You paid off your student loans. You've sold your pharmacies. You're moving in a new direction right now that if somebody's watching this, and I'm going to get into a couple of little details that why they should really pay attention to what's being said here in a minute. But if somebody's watching this, they need to pay close attention to what it is where you've come from and where you're going and what your plans for the future are. So one of the things that I love about you is that you've always been willing to try something new. Mm. And you've always been willing to take that hit that a lot of other people aren't willing to take, so that you can kind of buffer the way for other people. It's kind of like that first person that rides that bicycle and everybody kind of trails them. Mm-hmm. They're in the wind, but you're really doing most of the work. And this is where I've seen you over the last 10 years. You've gone and you have tried things and you've put your heart and your soul and all your wisdom into the things that you've attempted. And look, nobody in the history of the world was ever plopped on top of the mountain that's called success. Everybody had to go up through that rocky road or create new paths, and they broke a leg or they fell down and smashed their face on a rock, or some of them fell off the side of the cliff and had to pull themselves back on. Some of them fell off the side of the cliff and never got back up. Some of them got tired and went, I can't do it. Oh. And they've only gone 15 feet. And it kind of reminds me of one of the offices where Michael's out he says, I'm going to go out and do I'm going to go out in the wilderness. I don't know if you remember that episode.
No, I don't.
But he's out for like 3 hours. He's like, okay, I'm starting to get hungry.
Oh, that's funny.
But like I said, the thing that's impressed me about you is that you've made it up through those trails, and you've done it with some of your own ingenuity and your knowledge and your wisdom and your heart and your guts and your soul and everything that's taken you to that point. And you are what I would call a trailblazer. And I've known a lot of people in this industry that would love to have you working with them. I know that for a fact because you come from the heart and you're smart at the same time. And that's hard to find.
Thank you very much.
I mean that sincerely,
Yeah, I appreciate it. And it's funny because that's what people on our team talk about. Not me personally necessarily, but even in this industry that we're in right now, because there's so much misinformation and there's so much not known, that we're really kind of educators and trailblazers, and that we're out there in front of the pack.
You're out in front of the pack. Now, here's another thing that I want to mention to the people that are watching this is that you don't have to do this the old-fashioned way, right?
Correct.
I mean, you and I have hooked up, and we're developing a system for you that this is actually a part of, that you can actually record a live stream, or you can record a webinar, or you can record something ahead of time, or you can record a video, a training video that will play over and over and over and over and over and over again. And you only have to record it one time, but because once you learn how to put it out on social media, you're going to have people able to tap into that constantly over and over again. And you don't have to show up every single time. Like in the old days, we had to be on the phones. when I was doing network marketing back 30 plus years ago, and we first started, our biggest issue was the phone bill.
Right.
Picking up the phone and
Thousands
calling
of
people.
dollars back then.
Our phone bills would be up in the ways of $2,000 to $3,000 a month.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you remember something called local long distance.
Yep.
Local long distance was about 25 to 50 cents a minute at the time. It was ridiculous. Yep. And we didn't have Skype, and we didn't have the internet. We didn't have, a lot of the luxuries that we have today and that people have today. And what you and I are doing is we're taking full advantage of that for you and your team and the people that you're assisting to make transitions or to add a supplemental income to their current stream without getting in the way of what they're currently doing. And you can show people how to do that by, through exactly what we're doing here, recording a video, tapping into other things that are online, guiding people. So basically what our job is, and your job, and what you're teaching people to do is you're like almost like a traffic cop, where you're saying, go over here. You want the answers to this? Go over here. You want the knowledge to this? Go over there. So you're guiding people down these paths of things that are already preset, and you can teach them exactly the same way to do that with the system that we're putting together for you, which is really, really super exciting. I can't wait to launch that.
I know.
And we've been working diligently on that. So is there anything that you want to add to that I may have missed?
I think of it almost like an orchestrator.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to play every instrument in the band, but I orchestrate things. And, I'm teaching other people how to be an orchestrator so that they can, that's really what my other option is. Like we said, rather than being tied to a job or a place and a time, is to really have that true time and money freedom. And to me, it's really about, your company has to have a good product. And if you don't have a good product, you're not going to make it. But then it's about, how do you share that information with others? But even more important than that, I can share with thousands of people and they can try the product or come work the business with me. But if they can't turn around and share it in the same way that I did, that's duplicatable, then that's, you don't grow. And I don't.
Yeah, if they're shy and they don't have your skill sets, they're dead in the water.
Because you don't have to have my skill sets. You don't have to have the knowledge or the experience that I've had. You can gain it from me. You can gain the systems that you and I are putting together to help in that, to really implement that. So to me, when you said, what are you looking for in the future? I'm not one of those people that say, I want to lay on a beach in Mexico, sipping a drink forever, never do anything, and be a millionaire.
Maybe a month or two.
I mean, that's just not realistic. That may happen for some, but for most people, that doesn't happen. However, you can be on the beach of Mexico, sipping a drink, still earning money more than you do now.
Yeah.
And that's what my point is to people. Okay, well, if you don't change anything now, what's going to be different in the future? So if you work hard for a couple of years or even 5-10 years, what's it going to be like in 5 or 10 years if you don't make a change? And if
people are trading time for money. That's what they're doing. They're
trading time for money. So if you can put some resources in, which includes time, your money, your effort and this and that now, to build an income that will keep coming in no matter what you do, but then you turn around and you help others do that. And that is where you really can make a difference in the world. You can make, enough money to not only have that time and money freedom for yourself, but you can leave some kind of legacy. I'm a philanthropist at heart. Andy is a Shriner. We love the shrines and we love to do for them. And I want to do more. I want to do for my family and stuff. So I just see the future for pharmacists, for other medical professionals, for anybody really who wants something different, because nothing changes if nothing changes.
Mm-hmm. You should know that better than anybody else. And I'm right there with you, sister. I've had to make a lot of changes over my lifetime. Some of them really hurt, I leave scrape marks on the floor sometimes, claw marks, you know, kicking and screaming.
Yeah.
But, you know, change is going to happen with or without your permission.
It's
And you can either
time
go
is going
with
to
it,
go on.
you can ride that wave, and you can be on the front end of that wave, or you can be on the back end of the wave and miss that wave and miss the next one and miss the next one and watch everybody else enjoying this thing called life and living their dreams. And, you know, I think Les Brown said it best. He says, you know, most people spend their Sundays, a lot of men in America will spend their Sundays watching somebody else run with their dream. In other words, they've got the football, they've got the baseball or the hockey stick or whatever it is. I'm about to sneeze, excuse me. You want to pause it? We'll go back.
Pause recording.
So it's watching somebody else run with your dream, like Les Brown says. And, you know, why not create your own game? Why not get in that field and play that game? Get off of the benches, get on the field and do that chicken dance, like he says, and really go for it, because life is short. You and I both know this, that, you know, and I talk to a lot of younger kids, you know, they're in their 20s and 30s, and I tell them, I said, go for what you go for what's in your heart. You know, build your future now. Don't wait till the end. You know, don't run around partying and you know, wasting your time doing things that you don't want to, that aren't going to benefit you in the future. Take control of your future right now, because life is going to go by like this. Whoops, there goes another 10 years. There goes another 10 years. There goes another 10 years. And before you know it, you turn around, you go, what happened to the last 40, 50 years? Where was I? What happened? Do I have stories to tell? Do I have things that I've achieved? And a lot of people don't. Unfortunately, in America, it's really unfortunate.
So
we're one of the most amazing nations in the world, you know, that people will rest on their laurels and they won't make those changes and they won't take those risks. And they're small risks, right, Angela?
It's a very small risk. So what had me thinking about a lot of this also most recently is next weekend I'm going to my 40-year high school reunion.
Oh.
And so when I had gotten that invitation a couple months ago, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe how we're in pharmacy and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so one of the things that I've heard is, you know, you can overestimate what you do in a year. A lot of people do, oh, I'm going to make, you know, 200,000, I'm going to do this and that in a year, you know, but they underestimate what they can do in a decade. Meaning if you're consistent and persistent, you can look back over time and be really amaze yourself. So as I come upon my 40 years out of high school, I look back to what I've done. And there are times that I have felt defeated. There are times that I have felt hopeless. There are times that I've been, oh my God, is this ever going to change? You know, we all get that feeling. I'm an optimist, though. I try to be always optimistic and happy, but we all have thoughts. I have those thoughts all the time. I fight against them. But I look back over the 40 years, and I think we can all probably do this and be amazed at some of the areas that what you've done. You know, I've had 2 pharmacies. I've had a fabulous 40-year career in pharmacy. A lot of people can't say that they've had a career in one, you know, it's not the same employer, but I've been in the pharmacy field for 40 years. I've helped thousands, maybe millions of people. I made a difference. And I can't wait for the next 40 when I look back and say, am I glad that I made a change to something that not only is naturally helping people, but also making a difference in the lives of those who want to partner with me and have the lives that they've always dreamed of. Whether that is to have an extra $1,000 a month, $500 a month, or they want to make $10,000 a month or $15,000. Everybody has to do what's right for them. But you'll be amazed at what you can do in 40 years if you make the decision to pursue your dreams and to be okay with those changes.
Well, I'd like to, first of all, thank you for being on the show today. And, you know, we will continue to be friends for many, 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 many years to come. I'm very certain of that. And perhaps maybe we'll partner at some point here in the very near future, because as I was working with you, as you know, I saw a lot of great things about this company that got me really excited about it. So that is a distinct possibility. So you may see me hanging on to Angela's coattails here in a little bit. And, you know, and that's saying a lot, because I've been in this industry for 30 plus years, helped a lot of people and worked with a lot of people that were trying to make transitions. And again, in going over some of these details with Angela and some of the principles of the company and the people that are really driving this business model, you know, it had, both Mona and I looked at each other and said, wow, like,
It's
wow.
what I
Because
like to call the perfect storm, the right circumstances converging.
yeah, I mean, you know, look, the writing's on the wall as far as CBD is concerned. You know, anybody that thinks that it's not exploding over the next, you know, several years is in a cave or under a rock somewhere. And if you're in a cave and under a rock, you're probably smoking that stuff anyway.
Not CBD.
But, you know, as far as the CBD is concerned, we know the writing's on the wall. We see it all over the news. All you have to do is search, do a Google search. If, you know, with this business model has been proven since the 50s. It does about $190 billion a year globally. And, you know, so that doesn't, you know, it's not like the jury's out on that. If anybody's looking to work with Angela, I can attest to the fact that Angela is a rock star, superstar, heart of hearts, smart gal. And, you know, we'll go to extra lengths to help you to build a business and to change your life if that's what you're looking for. And if you're qualified to even work with Angela, you know, because obviously, Angela, you're looking for certain things with people that you don't want to drag people down the street. I mean, this is a volunteer army, and you know, we're not looking for people that are kicking and screaming, and we're not looking for people that are not looking, right?
Right. I want to help those who want to help themselves.
Exactly. Who are ready and have the means to make a difference. You know, they have to be willing to invest in themselves, right? They have to be willing to invest in their business. They have to be willing to be positive and show up and want to make a change and be ready for that change. They have to be decision makers. They can't just go, I don't know. I don't know. Give me a yes or a no. Get on the train or off the train. But anyway, with that said, where can people get a hold of you, Angela, and tell us what the best way to touch base with you is? Why don't you lay that out for everybody?
So I have an email, Angela's RX. I'm sorry, info@angelasrx.com. It's fairly new, so I'm sorry. So info@angelasrx.com. I'm on all the social medias. I'm on LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. I love Facebook and Instagram. And on is Angela Orr, ORR, and Angela's ANGELA. So you can look me up, you know, any of those ways online.
And I can always post links below or beside the videos so that you can get a hold of Angela as well. And with that said, is there anything that you'd like to say before we say goodbye?
I just want to thank you, Keith. I really appreciate you as a person. I love you and Mona, very good people. And I think that is what I really enjoy about this business also, is just working with, you know, one of the reasons that you go into your own business is that you get to pick and choose who you get to work with. Mm-hmm. You know, and rather than being forced to work with people that may or may not be your type of person. And I just really enjoy, you know, the camaraderie we've had over the years, and I appreciate the interview and speaking to me and all the help in the project that we're working on. And to those out there who are watching this, again, I just say, you know, if now's not the time, when as? The time will go by. I know what it's like to feel hopeless sometimes, but there is always hope if you're willing to invest in yourself.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Well, with that, we're going to say goodbye for now. We'll be back with another episode here very soon, you can see, you get a hold of Angela from some of the links here, and it's called info at Angela's RX, ANGELASRX.com. You can get a hold of Angela, and I'm sure she'll get back to you very, very quickly, and you guys can take it from there. But my recommendation is talk to Angela. She is the queen of queens. She knows what she's doing in this industry. With that said, we're going to say goodbye for now.
Thank you.
Have a great day, and what a great day! What a great way to spend my Saturday afternoon here. Thanks, Angela. We love you.
Thank you.